How's it going, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. So, it's about 9 degrees up here in the high country, way up in the mountains, where this thing honestly thrives at, and that is exactly what we're going to be talking about, is the 2020 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon. We're going to talk about the real world, kind of aspect or use that I have got. I'm not going to go too much into the specs at all, like maybe another reviewer may. I'm going to show you what I have enjoyed, the pros, the cons, the negatives, the things that I didn't really like about it, and ultimately at the end what I would recommend. Now granted, you all have to come up with your own opinions on this if you like it or you don't, but I'm going to share my real world aspect with it. So I've owned this vehicle for over a year, probably about a year and a half. I've about 18,000 miles with this particular vehicle. Quite a bit. And I go up into the mountains and whatnot quite a bit. Honestly, every weekend, me and the family are up throwing this thing in four-wheel drive, enjoying it, because that's what I originally wanted to do with it. I originally owned a Wrangler. So that kind of gives you an idea, why do you care about my opinion? Well, I owned a Wrangler for 5 years prior to this, and me and my wife literally lived out of that vehicle, touring around the United States. So I understand what the capabilities are of the Wrangler. So when I saw this originally, when it first came out, I was like, wow, that solves a lot of problems. At least for me, in my opinion, it did, because of the bed. Makes sense. It has more room. I wanted to get a topper for it, and I have more room for gear and other equipment. Which, if you want to see all the equipment that I carry with me, I'll throw that video in the description box below, like chainsaw, recovery gear, winch, extra parts, extra tools, firearms, camping gear, all that stuff that I carry with me. Separate video for that. Go check it out. So, mainly, I have traveled, like I said, 18,000 miles with this. About 2,500 of those was towing with this particular vehicle. 2,200-ish was a straight shot from the East Coast to the West. Me being military, I was stationed in one location and they moved me to another, so I had to move. So I threw on a trailer that was mine, a 6x12 enclosed trailer, and I towed with it. Towing aspect. So first off, it's a V6, right? Just like the Wrangler. It lacks a lot in the horsepower. Well, I wouldn't say a lot. Just as is, I think it's really well powered at the moment. This is not the diesel version. This is the gas version. So I think there is some horsepower that honestly Chrysler could probably put into this thing, and I would highly recommend, which they kind of taunted us with the whole Hemi project, which would be really cool. But towing wise, it definitely lacks. Can it do it? Yes, it can. I've towed 4,000 pounds that entire distance. I was getting about 8 miles to the gallon. Not that great, but with towing aspect, that's what you're expected to do. This vehicle will do 7,000 pounds, and I think it has somewhere between 1,500 and 1,700 payload capacity. So that's like thrown in the back. So let me get you down off the tripod and we're going to do a walk around. I'm going to tell you more about other things that I dislike about it, mainly wheels, tires, and other things like that that I do like, don't like. We're going to push right into it. All right, so let's push straight into it. So, wheels and tires. Specifically, I have done no upgrades to the suspension whatsoever. These are the Falcon Wild Peak MTs. Previously on my other Jeep, I had the BF Goodwrench mud terrains, and they were absolutely outstanding. These ones, in my opinion, wear a little bit more than my other MTs. I do not really prefer these. I mean, they're still a good tire. I don't have too many criticisms with them, but I do prefer the BF Goodwrench, the MTs. They got a lot more mileage out of them, in my opinion, from what I can feel and see. They are still really grippy, don't have an issue with that, mainly probably because it's the wheelbase as well. Talking about that with breakover angle, I have noticed a little bit more, but it's nothing too major. Now, honestly, the trailer hitch, if you have one on there, I don't. I have it in the bed because it likes to drag. So when you go over things, it will drag the trailer hitch. I've noticed that, so I've taken it off. Now, a lot of people will complain like, oh, you need to put 35s on there. This vehicle is not capable whatsoever on 33s, because that's what it's running. And I have to disagree. Now, for this is my opinion, I've gone a lot of places with this particular vehicle. And I have not needed 35s yet. I have gone other places where other vehicles with 35s and even 37s, other Wranglers have gone. I have followed them. We've had many off-road trails that we've done, and there is nothing that I haven't been able to conquer with front and rear lockers on 33s. So don't think that you need to run out and buy 37 because that's the only way. Now, granted, if you're doing some hardcore rock crawling, I understand, but this is just my opinion. I haven't met anything, and I go out almost every weekend with other people running 37s and 35s, and I still get by. Had to use the winch one time in this vehicle, and that is because I was way up in the mountains, really far where I shouldn't have been, and my vehicle slightly slid off the road into a ditch way up, like even way further than I am now out here. And the snow came all the way up to about the mirror, and it was at like a 45-degree angle, and I was pretty well temporarily detained. I ended up getting out the next day, but long story, maybe I'll share it another time, but I have a Warn winch on this along with the bumper. That's mainly what I've upgraded, along with the topper. As you can see on top, helps out a lot. I can actually sleep in the back of this with my extension that I've made. No issues. I've added CB and ham to this particular rig. For the off-road wise, awesome capabilities. On-road wise, gas mileage lacks a little bit, I would say. I'm getting about 14 miles to the gallon. Not too terrible, but it could be a lot better, like I said about the horsepower issue and whatnot. So, one flaw that I think occurs right back here in the back panel. Now, I really like the fact that they added the rock rails to the back. They just tend to collect a lot of dirt and stuff. Now, you got to hose them out. I get that. But the issue is all up underneath here, which I will show you. I'll turn the camera around and hopefully it doesn't cut out on me. But it collects dirt up inside. So there's no mud flaps or anything. So this just shoots mud all the way up to the very top. You can just see mud inside coated. So I'll flip the camera around, kind of be difficult to maybe see a little bit, but that is all kind of, you can see up there. I don't know if you can see it, all open, all the way up in there. That's kind of a pain. There's a bunch of mud caked up all in this area. And I think in the long-term aspect of it, it's going to be bad because it's going to start to rust up there. Granted, I haven't seen any issues with it. Maybe other trucks have the same exact thing with no issues, but this is just me using it, my observations. So let's push inside to the vehicle and I'll show you more of kind of the interior. So with that said, pretty much what you see is what you get. As you can see, it's really dirty. I have used this and I haven't cleaned it out for this particular video at all. There's still stuff in the floorboards, there's dirt, there is dust just all over it. And that is real world what you guys kind of see and what you're gonna get. So I didn't clean this thing up and fix everything to make it better. I'm showing you how it is. So, two issues that I've had inside interior-wise. Mainly that would be the visor and the infotainment system. So first off with the visor, I was rolling down just a typical road, a lot of washboards, I was kind of shaking around, and for some reason this just kind of fell out of nowhere, and that piece broke on me. So not very handy or helpful. I really kind of try to put it back up there, but it likes to fall down every so often. So I went to the dealership, talked to them about it, and said, hey, this is an issue. Come to find out, other Gladiators have the same exact issue with the passenger and the driver. And apparently they're not doing anything warranty-wise about them. Not too happy about that, actually. I've gone to them the last 6 months to fix this particular issue, and they keep saying, oh, we don't have the parts in, sorry, try back again another time. 6 months later, they still haven't fixed it. I end up like paracording, stuff around it if it gets really bad. But at the moment, I kind of found a fix to kind of jam it back up in there. So that's a bit of an issue, but I mean, that's kind of small compared to like other stuff that you could have going wrong. Infotainment system. So let's turn it on real quick. I do like immediately the turn on goes the old Willys Wrangler, and then it goes to the kind of Rubicon. Let's turn down the heat because it's a little bit chilly outside. This system right here, I don't have any issues with it, like actually utilizing it or how it works. Once in a while, it will turn off and turn back on. So I'll be driving and say those corrugated roads, like it's shaky a lot. It'll just randomly cut off. And then I'll like, what the heck? So I look over and then it'll just turn back on. And then it'll be good for like a month. I'm saying that issue maybe occurs once a month. I've seen it maybe a dozen times in the last year and a half that I've owned it. It is showing low tire pressure. That's just because it's kind of cold. It was 9 degrees outside when I first got out here, so it's starting to warm up a little bit, going to 16. One feature that I do like about it is the, old school kind of cable is like you can just literally push it into 2 or go to 4 whenever you need to. And you can do it on the drive too. So if you're driving, you can just reach down, grab it, throw it in, have some fun with it. Lockers. So I haven't actually had any issues with the lockers, and I've used them a good bit, I would say. There is a trick to them though. When you do hit them, so like as you can see, there's a kind of a cable in the way that goes to my CB, but rear for this one is down and front and rear together are up. So when you flip it, say I just want the rear only, what a lot of people will do is they'll flip it down and then they'll wait. And literally up here, it'll just keep dinging, or it'll keep like flashing like, hey, trying to engage. What I've noticed, if you drive a little bit and then hit it and continue to drive, it'll lock in real quick. Same with coming out. Issues with people is hitting the off button, which is this, clicking that, and then just sitting there idle and looking and being like, this thing is just, it's not going off, just stand by, it's not going off. You gotta drive a little bit. If you drive like, say, 20 feet and just at like 2 or 3 miles an hour as you're continuing down the trail, it'll immediately kick off, no issues. So I've seen people complain about it. It takes a while to go in and out. The sway bar is also kind of a long thing. You just kind of gotta click it and it's gonna do its thing. It takes a little bit longer, but it has its ups and downs. Hill descent mode, which is over here, definitely used it multiple times. Works really well. Does not work on ice very well. Like this, the system will get overloaded. If you're going down at a hardcore angle or something like that, which is kind of cool, is you have a bunch of, things that you can look at on the infotainment system to give you what degrees you're actually. But if you're going down a heavily steep area and you're trying to go down, there's ice, the system will lock up. It'll actually freak out. Just on ice though, because it won't know what to do, because it thinks it needs to brake, so it'll lock up the tires and then you just start sliding down at an angle. Kind of freaked out the first time it happened. Wasn't too bad though. I ended up finding out I'm just gonna do it manually after that. But other than that, honestly, interior-wise, I do like the seats. I did not go for the leather personally. I kind of don't like leather. My last car, which was a GT500, I had leather seats and they were nice, but I didn't really enjoy them. Back-wise, back seat, as you can see, there's a bunch of stuff in the back. Get home bag, bug out bag back there. All kinds of stuff. Real world use. I do like the back seats. Very nice. There is a place underneath you can put stuff. Good amount of room, I would say. There's baby. Baby sits back there. Obviously, she's not with me, but that's her location. We do have to move the seat forward when we want to get in, and that's just because the carrier that we use, it goes forward, but once she's in, we can move the seat back. No issues. I think there's suitable enough room for kids in here. Depending on how many you have, that might be an issue. Haven't had any issues with anything back here, nothing falling apart. And I've been kind of hard on this particular vehicle a lot, honestly. So, I mean, other than that, I don't really have a lot of negatives. Now, I get it, some people do. You got to come up with your own opinions. I haven't had anything that actually failed or fell apart on me, except for the visor issue, like I said, and then the infotainment system kind of being weird. Nothing else is broken. My JK, I had a couple things that would kind of break every now and then. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I would just deal with them and work my way around them and whatnot. I mean, it comes with a lot of creature comforts that the JK definitely didn't. I mean, we got heated steering wheel, heated seats, like, and these are all options that you can get. Auto off start, I didn't think I would like it, and a lot of people hate on it. I see on, you know, video, YouTube and stuff like that. They're like, oh, it's terrible. It works. I mean, I don't have an issue with it. You can turn it on and off by a button if you want to. It doesn't save. But honestly, in the long-term stuff, I'll roll in some footage of just hitting the trails. I think it's a good platform. For overlanding, I would say it's a really good platform in my opinion. Now, is there better stuff? Of course. Is there worse stuff? Absolutely, definitely. But I think if you wanted to build this vehicle out to be really good at, say, overlanding or even a daily driver, but you still want that Jeep, that was my reason I got it, was I wanted a truck, but I wanted to keep my Jeep life. Kind of goofy, you know. Some people would be like, oh, it's kind of dumb, but hey, it worked out. So I enjoy it personally. I may get rid of it, which is kind of funny. It's like, oh, why do you enjoy it? New things in life are popping up, and I feel like I need more space. I'm looking at the Power Wagon. Granted, I don't know if I'm going to go with it, but it has all the same features as this Rubicon does. Locking front rear differential, disconnectable sway bar up front, both live rear axle, live front axle, but in a 2500 model. Like, that's pretty good. So if you guys like this kind of stuff and you want to support me, definitely think about or consider doing a PayPal donation just one time, just to the channel. It's not to me. This goes to the channel. New audio system, new visual system, different gear items that I just bought. Like recently, for instance, I just bought the new pig gloves. These are the winter ones. I have not seen a single video of people talking about real world use with the new pig winter gloves. So I'm going to start testing on them, and I'm going to throw a video out there on them. Why not? Kind of stuff like that. Those are expensive gloves. Those are $67. You know, that's kind of steep. So your guys' assistance in Patreon and PayPal help that out. If not, then I'll just keep going. If you guys want to watch it for free, cool. Real world reviews. Keep enjoying it. Hit that like, hit subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next video.